Ever so slight angle. Okay. Ethan is our camera.
Oh, so this is video. Is this video as well?
Yeah, we put it on YouTube.
Oh, right.
Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should have thought about
So we
what I was
started-
wearing.
I think you look great. I think we started this podcast, Ethan.
I could have worn my robes.
Oh, I thought about
That would
it.
have been very official.
I thought about asking. I thought that might be a bit too much.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done that.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Chip Lunch Podcast. And Braden, it's a special day.
It is a special day.
Why is it a special day?
Because we're here.
Oh,
Oh, wait.
not just that. It's episode 200.
It's always a special day with you.
We're 200 episodes.
Yes, 200 episodes.
Recording it
Congratulations.
slightly in the future, but it's the 200th episode. Congratulations, Braden.
Congratulations.
Thank you for coming on this journey with me.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's been a part of it.
Yes,
so
that's
far.
true. That's very true. Thank you, everyone that's listening and watching, and as always, making some lovely comments. But I'm hoping today
Yeah.
that we might get a few extra comments
Oh, okay.
because we have a special guest. And I want to get this right. I would like to welcome the most reverend Kanishka da Silva Raffel. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's close enough, John.
Oh, no, that means I didn't get it right. Can you correct me, please? Raffel?
Raffel.
Raffel. Okay, thank you very much. Well, welcome.
Kanishka Raffel.
Kanishka Raffel, welcome. We weren't expecting you to come on when I sent
I never miss a bicentenary. That's not entirely true.
Well,
But
we
if I
have-
can, I will.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much. Because one of our members, Jeremy, I think we were throwing around, what do we do for 200? And he said, you should try and get the Archbishop on. And I'm like, okay. And then I sent an email and then very kindly.
Well, congratulations. 200 of anything is pretty good.
Well, yeah,
Well
we're
done,
pretty,
you.
we're pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
It's been, how about 4 years or something we've been
Yeah,
doing it for
yeah.
now? And
Wow,
it's been
fantastic.
It's been amazing. So I think some of our favourites are when we go away for our church camp, week away for 5 days. The week before, we do a drive down all the way and record a podcast for people to listen to on the way down
Yeah, right.
as well. So we're going to do that in a few weeks. But plenty of other great stories that we've had on this podcast, which has been really exciting. However,
Yeah.
you are the special guest.
Thank
it
you.
smells quite a bit like chips right now in the studio.
It does. It's quite a strong aroma.
It's a strong, pungent scent. Hudson, our producer, bought chips for the special occasion of the 200th episode.
An
However,
act of pure love.
Yes.
Absolutely. It really was. I don't know how old they are. They're probably about 3 days old. Is that what happened, Hudson?
No, they're fresh.
Are you a manager there?
They're fresh.
Oh, they're fresh. I don't know if we'll eat them, though.
No.
No. But as we always ask all of our guests on Chip Lunch, Kanishka, how do you like to eat your hot chips?
Yeah, usually not at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Fair enough.
Look, I'm a traditionalist. Just a bit of salt, maybe some vinegar.
Yeah.
Ooh, now, can I ask you, though, how much of a traditionalist when it comes to salt?
Well, I'm a traditional Sri Lankan, so chili salt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool because so we have a huge battle on the podcast.
Yeah.
I am plain salt.
Ah.
Braden is chicken salt.
Oh, there you
Yes.
And Ethan is chicken salt as well. So we kind of trying to keep a tally with every guest that we have on is who likes chicken salt, plain salt. But chili salt,
I think that's a first.
it could be. I might have had might have one other person.
go.
May
Yeah,
have said
Sri
something
Lankans
like
eat
that.
mango with chili, so
Really?
Yes.
Well, this sounds great.
That sounds like a good combo, though. That's sweet and spicy.
it's a pretty good combo.
Oh, that would be pretty good.
You can buy it on the street.
Yeah?
Mango and chili salt.
Really?
Oh, wow.
So they just put the chili salt on the mango?
No, you get it in a bottle. You dip it in.
Oh, you dip it in.
Ah,
Okay. I thought they like put it on as a kind of what is it? An astringent or whatever it's called? No.
I don't know. You've gone way off with that word.
I was taken way off by the mango and chili. That was great.
Yeah.
Any particular sauce though? With your chips?
No, tomato.
Tomato sauce.
Yeah.
It's good. Classic.
Yeah.
Tomato sauce. I don't know about the chili salt. I'm gonna have to try that though.
Yeah.
And at least it's not chicken salt.
Yes. Well, for you. And vinegar is traditional as well, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
regular
Other
salt.
different
vinegar.
ways.
Sure.
Because a lot of people with the English background say they like vinegar on their chips, which makes sense
Yeah.
because they like it.
Not
over
enough to make them go soggy, though.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, that is it.
It's the same with the sauce. You've got to be careful. You don't want to make the chips soggy because then it's no good. Do you have any particular like childhood memories associated with hot chips? That's a part 2 question I always like to ask people.
Although I was raised in a Buddhist family, when we came to Australia in the 1970s, lots of people had fish and chips on Friday night. And so did we.
Oh, nice.
Often.
That's a cool thing to do as a family.
When I was a kid,
Yeah. Brilliant. All right. Well, that's cool. Well, add that to the list. Chili salt.
Yeah.
It's like 1 or 2 on the tally for chili salt. So the second question we always ask, and I'd like to, Braden, why don't you ask the second question of our most reverend Archbishop? Before that, has anyone called you Kanish the Archbishop?
Yes, I have heard variations on that theme.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is there any good ones? They're all bad.
Look, I'm not... doesn't worry me.
You don't want to offend anyone. Fair enough. All right, second question, Braden.
How did you become a Christian?
Sure. Well, as I said, my family background is Buddhist. So my parents are Sri Lankan. We came to Australia in the 1970s, long time ago.
Yeah.
And although my father's parents were devout Christians, my mother and her family were Buddhist, which is the majority religion in Sri Lanka. And so when we were children, she kind of took charge of our religious upbringing, and we had a little shrine in our house, and we, as children, we used to chant prayers before we went to bed. When a temple opened in Sydney in 1975 in Stanmore, it's still there, we started to go to that temple. And so my religious background really was Buddhist. And when I got to my 3rd year in university, I thought I ought to understand my religion better. So independently, I just began to read Buddhist literature. And I went to the temple, I spoke to the monks, I started practicing meditation in a more disciplined kind of way.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't had a kind of serious engagement with Buddhism prior to that, but in my 20s, I did.
Yeah.
And at the end of my 3rd year at university, I went on holidays with some friends, including Christian friends. In fact, we picked up some of these guys from a beach mission before we kind of went on to our holiday destination. So that was a completely new thing for me to kind of turn up at this beach mission, whatever that was. And I kind of, we had lunch together. We just joined the team for lunch. And then after lunch, a few people said, Kanishka, we're going to pray now, so you might want to have a walk on the beach. And I said, is it okay if I just stay here?
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, sure. So I just sat with this group of people, mostly in their 20s, I guess.
Yeah.
Some of whom were my friends. And I just sat in on their after-lunch prayer meeting, which completely blew my mind, really, because suddenly, their heads were bowed. They were talking to God.
Yeah.
They were talking about the mission. They were talking about families they met during the week, and they were talking about the other missions, which had some problems with tents or whatever. Thinking, who are they talking to? What is going on here? Anyway, that evening, they were sort of the teenage tent and what have you, and I sat in on that as well. And at the end of that, one of the leaders, my friend Andrew, we just sat together and started chatting. And because I'd spent the year pretty much reading Buddhism, I was feeling pretty confident about this. So I just asked him, what's the deal? Why are you a Christian? And he said, being a Christian meant he'd lost control of his life to Jesus Christ.
Yeah, right.
And I've talked to him about this since then, and I don't know if he remembers it. I don't know if he remembers saying it, but I have never forgotten him saying it.
Yeah.
And partly, I think, God really gave him those words because in Buddhism, you take responsibility for your salvation.
Yep.
Okay.
And the way you pursue salvation, it's not really called salvation, it's called nirvana, the way you seek to achieve enlightenment and you seek to achieve release from the cycle of birth and death and rebirth, which is a cycle of suffering. The first noble truth of Buddhism, all life is suffering, and we're on this cycle of suffering. And so the goal is to get out of that.
Yeah.
And getting out of it is nirvana.
Yeah.
All right.
And the way you do that is by intense self-discipline.
Yep.
It's called the Eightfold Path: right action, right livelihood, right speech, right meditation, right concentration, right understanding, right wisdom. You've got to get everything right.
Yep.
And this is hard. The Buddha took 530 lives to achieve this. You're trying to purify your desires, because desire is really the root of all the suffering.
Yep.
You desire the wrong things. You desire what you can't have. You have what you want, but you can't keep it the way you desire to hold on to it.
Yeah.
And so this desire and the frustration of desire and the misdirection of desire creates the suffering, which keeps you locked into the cycle.
Yep.
And so you've got to get everything right to get out of it. So so I was very committed at this stage to gaining total control over every part of my mental, physical, emotional, spiritual life.
Yep.
And he was a friend that we were friends, I respected him, and he told me he lost control of his life to Jesus.
Yeah.
A guy who at best was dead 2,000 years ago. So that was pretty provocative. I don't know where the conversation went after that, but at the end of it, he said, look, would you read something if I gave you something to read? So I said, sure. And he gave me 2 little pocket editions of Mark's Gospel and John's Gospel.
Yeah.
I read Mark's Gospel the next day. I thought, oh, I've heard some of these stories. I never knew they came from here. And then it was some weeks later, maybe 6 weeks later, in January 1986, it was kind of humid Sydney night, and I was having difficulty getting to sleep, and I thought, I told Andrew I'd read this other book,
Yeah.
and probably that'll put me to sleep. Forgive me, Lord. And so I pulled out John's Gospel. I started to read John's Gospel. As you know, it begins, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And I thought, well, this sounds like a fairy tale. Sounds like Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
But I dived in, and God was very kind. The more I read, the less I thought it sounded like a fairy tale. In fact, I thought, this is history. I'm reading about things that happened. Now, I had read in the previous year Buddhist scripture.
Yeah.
And it's almost all sayings. The Buddha said this, the Buddha said that. One time, the disciples were out and they said to the Buddha this, but the Buddhist scriptures were not written for 250 years after the life of the Buddha.
Yeah.
So nobody who wrote the scriptures had ever spoken to him.
Yeah.
It was an oral tradition.
Yeah.
But the Gospels, John's Gospels, written within 60 years of the life of Jesus, probably by somebody who knew him, the disciple John,
Yeah.
about what he said to other people that the author also knew about events that the author was also present at.
Yeah.
So when you read that, it sounds like a witness statement,
Okay.
right? It's
Yeah.
got a historical veracity to it that you can pick up off the pages of Scripture, say in comparison to something that's written about a guy who lived 250 years ago. So that struck me, this historicity. But in addition to that, Jesus emerges from the scriptures as a real person, as a person who has friends and enemies, a person who's on a mission, a person who has compassion, a person that you see interacting in different situations, many of which are pretty surprising. Right? There's a lot of weird stuff going on. But there's just an authenticity about that account. And again, that was a bit of a contrast to the Buddhist scriptures, where you don't get an idea of the Buddha as a person. You get this voice that speaks wise sayings, but you don't get a narrative of activity. You don't get a sense of the personality, because in a way the personality doesn't matter. It's the teaching that matters. And so that also kind of struck me. Then God in his kindness drew my attention to a phrase that John uses on a couple of occasions, and that phrase is, "At this the people were divided." Jesus will do something, and then John will say, "At this the people were divided." And I just happened to notice this. That's why I say God was kind. He kind of drew my attention to this phrase and turned it inwards on me. And I just found myself saying, oh, Jesus divides people. People are against him or for him. I'm against him. Why am I against him? And I just found myself asking this question. I've now committed myself to my Buddhist religion. So I'm not for Jesus. But how come? And I really found it hard to answer that question. I thought, no, this is authentic. This is true. These things that I'm reading, these are true things. Why am I against Jesus?
Is that all like one night you've sat down and started reading that, or is this over the course of
I know.
a little bit of time?
So humiliating. Yeah. I read the gospel like 3 times that night.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd spent the year kind of reading religious stuff. So I was kind of at peak interest in that way. Right? And I just found it captivating. I kind of couldn't get away.
So it did the opposite.
I've got to read this again.
It didn't put you to sleep.
No, I mean, no, it didn't put me to sleep. It kept me awake. And on the 3rd time through, I got to John chapter 6, and in verse 44, Jesus says, "No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws them to me, and I will raise them up on the last day." Now, I reckon if you do that verse in a Bible study, most people will ask questions about predestination. No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws them to me. Right? And you kind of say, well, what's that about? But I was reading this as a Buddhist, and as a Buddhist, the thing that was really challenging, or that really kind of stood out, was the expression, the last day. Because as far as I knew, life was just an endless cycle of birth and death and rebirth, and you were never going to get out of it, and it was going to go on forever. Because circles just go on forever. But suddenly, Jesus is talking about a line that has an end point, a last day. And I'm thinking, what's the last day?
When is it?
This is a bit of a problem, because I'm kind of counting on at least 530 lives.
Right. Not having a last day.
But what is this last day? And then I did begin to think about the first half of the verse. No one can come to me. No one can come to me unless the Father draws them to me. And again, I was thinking, well, what does that mean? Like, how does God draw people to Jesus? That's chapter 6, verse 44.
Yeah.
Chapter 6, verse 45 says this: "It is written in the prophets, they will all be taught by God. Everyone who has heard the Father and learned from him comes to me." So it's really nice, isn't it, when the scriptures answer your question in the next verse?
Yeah.
Like, keep reading. So now I'm looking at verse 45. I'm literally looking at the words on the page. Everyone who has heard the Father and learned from him comes to me. And I'm in my bedroom at like, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning now or something,
Yeah.
thinking, everyone who learns, everyone who's taught by the Father. Well, I've been reading this thing.
Yeah.
I've been learning about Jesus, reading this book.
Yeah.
And Jesus says, everyone who learns from the Father comes to me. And now, I would say, the Spirit convicted me about that. And I thought, right, I've got to come to Jesus now.
Yeah.
And I remembered that when I was 15, I was 21 by this time. When I was 15 in high school, the Gideons had come to high school and given us little New Testaments.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember that at the back of that New Testament, there was a prayer that you were supposed to pray if you wanted to be a Christian.
Yeah.
So I went rummaging around in my desk in my bedroom, and I found the book,
Yeah.
and I opened it up, and I read that prayer, and I went to bed.
Really? Yeah. And you went to sleep.
And I went to sleep. And the next day, I started to tell people that I decided to follow Jesus.
Really? Because that's the question I ask.
Praise God.
When people say, yes, praise God, we should definitely echo that. But when people say, like, they tell us how to become a Christian, I always like to ask them, what changed from that moment?
Yeah.
And you just said you started telling people from the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did people respond?
I told my friend who'd given me the Gospels.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, if he was very surprised, but he was pretty happy.
Yeah.
And I had quite a number of Christian friends, and they were like super excited, which kind of took me by surprise.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I discovered, because they said to me, "We've been praying for you for years."
Oh, wow.
And that's really important, because you already asked me, Braden, did this all happen in one day?
Yeah.
Well, it did and it didn't, because
Okay.
Yeah.
I told you my father's parents were Christians. My grandmother, by the time I became a Christian, my grandmother was with the Lord. But I've got no doubt that she would have prayed for me. And I had another friend who'd become a Christian when we were both 14.
Yeah.
And when I became a Christian at 21 and went to his church,
Yeah.
his friend said to me, "We have been praying for you for years."
Yeah.
So a bunch of teenagers, some of whom didn't even know me,
Yeah.
right? It was their friend at the youth group who said, "Can you pray for my friend?"
Yeah.
They'd been praying for me. My grandmother had been praying for me.
Yeah.
And when I got the word into my hand and God opened my heart, it was in response to the prayers of God's people.
It's like the final piece,
Yeah.
Yeah.
rather than, so it'd been in the works for a while. As
From
come to
before the
learn.
creation of the world, as you later find out.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Bit of time.
Yeah, totally. So you're 21 at the time.
Yeah.
As I said, like, what changed? How did your family respond? Like, you'd been brought up Buddhist. Was it a difficult response, or were they open to it?
No, it was pretty upsetting. So my father had died when I was 8 years old.
Wow. Okay.
So there was just Mum and my two sisters and I, and I was trying to work out how to tell Mum.
Yeah.
And so one day I was just kind of in the garden doing some gardening and kind of trying to talk to God. Like, I was a brand new Christian. And so I'm just kind of saying, well, God, I have to tell Mum about this.
Yeah.
So it'd be good if you could let me know a good time.
Yeah. and how.
Yeah.
And if you could do it for me.
And as I was kind of praying in this way in the garden, the clouds parted and I felt the sun shining on my face and feeling quite warm.
Yeah.
I thought, maybe that's how it works. So, maybe this is God telling me to go and tell Mum. So I started going inside to the house, and just as I got to the front door, the phone rang, and Mum went to answer the phone.
It was God on the phone.
Like, okay. That wasn't it.
Not the right time.
But then it was within a week, I was just walking down the sort of corridor in our house, and Mum was in bed and she was reading the newspaper or something, and I just walked past her bedroom door, and she called out to me, and so I stuck my head in the bedroom, and she said, "Oh, son, is there something you want to tell me?"
Oh, well.
Okay.
And I thought, oh, okay, this is it. So I sat on a bed. I said, look, I've been reading the Bible and I've decided to follow Jesus. The first thing she said was, that would please your grandmother, meaning my father's mother. Anyway, we just left it there. That was a lovely thing for her to say.
Yeah.
But later on, it was really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was very upset about it. And I think she was worried that it was a rejection of some kind of our family or our heritage, or that somehow I didn't love her, or things like that. So I think it just took a while to say, I do love you. This is not a criticism. This is not a rejection. I've met God in His Son, and so I need to do this, but that doesn't make me love you any less. It took a long time for her to accept that, I think.
I was going to ask you, as you got older, did it get easier? Were you able to talk about it more?
The first time I preached, she came along, which was lovely, and she sat in the front pew, and she cried for the entire sermon.
That's so hard.
Yeah. So, my mum was an amazing woman. She'd been widowed when she was 40 years old in a country where in a city where we had no family.
Moved to, yeah.
We'd been living in Australia for 6 months when my dad died.
Was it?
She was a wonderful, compassionate, courageous woman. And we did talk about the gospel over the course of her life. Mum, actually, after Kaylee and I got married and I'd been to college, we spent 17 years in Western Australia, and I was pastoring a church there. And during that period, my mum came over and lived in Perth for a couple of years, just around the corner from us. Partly, of course, because she wanted to spend some time with her grandchildren, and that was great. Now, one of the things I'd always prayed for my mum is that she'd have Christian friends. So when she moved to Perth, she actually joined our church. She didn't come on Sundays. She joined the language ministry as a helper.
Yeah.
And so she got to meet a bunch of fantastic Christian men and women who were members of our church. And she absolutely loved them.
Yeah.
They loved her. And so it made a real impression on her. And she stayed with us in Perth for a couple of years and then came back to Sydney. And after she died, a number of her friends said to me, "Oh, you know, your mother never stopped talking about her Perth friends after she came back from Perth."
Yeah.
And there were a group of women, 3 particular women who were teachers in the ESL ministry, who really just embraced my mum and took the opportunity to read the Bible with her, to talk to her about Jesus.
Yeah, both Joel and I are from non-Christian families, and both our sets of parents aren't currently Christians. So it's a great encouragement to keep. I think it's tricky with family, isn't it? They see the best and the worst of you.
Yeah.
They remember you before Jesus changed your life,
Yes.
which can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on.
I had a similar story.
But yeah, it's an encouragement to just keep trusting in God, but also just sharing what you've got with them at the time.
Yeah, keep praying.
Yeah.
Keep loving them. And,
I had a similar story. My grandfather was on the way out, and he said to me, he was lying in the bed. I remember this, and he said, "I know you're a praying man. Can you pray for me?" And so I prayed for him, but I don't know if that.
Yeah.
He didn't say amen. For
No,
example, but it's
sure.
like it's the thing is like don't give up. I think. Even the ones that are so close to you.
Yeah.
That there's still a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's really cool. And then I remember I prayed for him again. He was kind of basically out of it. And I said, "Grandpa, I don't know if you can hear me, but take this chance to." I can't remember exactly what I said, but let Jesus.
Yeah.
Let Jesus into your life. It's still not too late.
Yeah.
I think so. It's really special to share that stuff. So thank you. So you, just to move on a little bit. So you become a Christian at 21, and you said you were in Perth for 17 years. What's the intervening? What's that intervening time? When did you choose to become to study at college and become a minister?
Look, I think when I became a Christian, I hadn't been to church, I hadn't been to beach mission, I hadn't been to Sunday school.
Well, you had been to beach mission.
Well, I had been to beach mission, yeah. So everything was new. One of the things that really completely took me by surprise is that I felt tremendously unburdened. I hadn't felt burdened before, but when I became a Christian, I suddenly felt unburdened.
Right.
Yeah.
I felt elated.
Yeah.
And this was totally unexpected.
Yeah.
But it was wonderful. And I just thought, everybody should know about Jesus. Right?
Yeah.
I just felt like this was the best kept secret that there was.
Yeah.
And I just discovered, I would be walking down the street. We lived in Castle Hill. I'd be walking down the mall or something and thinking, wow, I wonder if you know about Jesus. You need to know about Jesus.
Yeah.
And God just did that. I mean, I didn't have any language for it. I didn't have any experience of it, but I just knew that I wanted other people to discover what I had discovered. And then, of course, I joined a church, and I began to see how people who were my age were serving in youth ministry or children's ministry, and how, in fact, it seemed like all kinds of people in the church of all kinds of ages were involved in ministry of various kinds to different kinds of people in Bible study groups and whatever it might be, men's ministry or whatever. That it looked like it looked to me like all Christians were making time to help other people understand the Bible. So I quickly felt that I wanted to do that too.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was some wise counsel, and I finished university. I did contemplate dropping out of university so that I could do this thing, which I didn't even have a name for.
What were you studying at uni, by the way?
I did arts and law at Sydney Uni, and so I was when I was saved, I was in my honours year for my arts degree, and I had 2 more years after that to graduate in law.
But you thought about giving it up?
I did.
Away.
Yeah, I talked to my pastor. I said, look, I can finish my arts degree and then, I'll just come and help you. Well, how about that? And he said, well, God put you there. Maybe you should finish it off. And that was good advice, because I subsequently worked for a little while as a lawyer, and I think that was a valuable thing to do in its own right. But it also meant that we were able to save some money so we could go to college a little bit later. So I did have, God just gave me a desire to be involved somehow in ministry, even though I didn't know what to call it. But I think, one of the things that was really totally revolutionary for me was that I just loved listening to preaching. I just wanted to learn. I couldn't wait for Sunday to go to church and hear the Bible being explained. And I was 21, so, it was really, it just formed the way I started to think about my life and my future, about what marriage was, about what work was about, how I would spend my life.
So did you end up going, you've become a Christian, did you end up going to church through, was it your friend Andrew?
Well, actually, no, it was another friend.
It was a different friend.
No, it was another friend who was at uni with me, and he was one of the first people I told, in fact, because I saw him every day at uni, and he said, well, you better come to church with me. So that's how I ended up going to an Anglican church.
Right.
Which church was that?
That was St. Paul's Castle Hill.
Okay.
And I was there for a year, and then I moved to St. Paul's Carlingford. And yes, I did marry her.
No, did you say marry up?
Well, I partly moved so that I could be in the vicinity of a young woman. And I told my pastor, I said, I'm thinking of going to Carlingford. And he said, well, you better marry her. And I said, well, okay.
And you're speaking there of your wife, Kaylee. Is that right?
Yes.
So how did you get connected with her, and then obviously pursuing her to Carlingford?
Well, I had met Kaylee when we were teenagers, because she went to church with some of the people that I went to school with, and we were in our family, it's a famous school debate. Ooh. When we were both 16 and on opposite sides. And yes, her team won, but I think we were robbed.
What was the topic though?
It was about computers. It was about whether computers were like roses or thorns or something. It's pretty pathetic that I can still remember the topic. But
no, that's not pathetic. So what was do you remember what your argument was though?
Look, I think we shouldn't go into it.
Okay, got it. So when did you end up getting married though? You obviously it ended up the choice to move to Carlingford worked out.
Indeed it did.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And when was you've been married for how long now?
We were married in 1988, so about 37 years.
Yeah, wow. Nice work.
Yeah,
and
praise God.
Did you get married at Carlingford?
We did. Yes.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. And I think you said you had 2 daughters.
Yes.
Is that right? What are their names?
Hannah and Lucy.
All right.
Yeah, Hannah's married. She still lives in Western Australia.
Oh, okay.
And Lucy is living here in Sydney.
Awesome. Right. So how do we get to the point where you're moving to Western Australia? Because that's obviously a big move.
Sure. So, Kaylee was a person who was also involved in ministry in her 20s. Mm-hmm. And so when we got together, we certainly, and we had a great peer group at Carlingford. Yeah. And so there was a lot of conversation about how would we serve Jesus with our whole lives.
Yeah.
And that didn't necessarily mean we were going into full-time ministry, but it did mean that we were going to be deliberate about saying, well, we want to order our lives around the principle that Jesus is Lord, that everything we have comes from him, and everything we have ought to be devoted to him. And so what does a Christian marriage look like? If he gives us children, what will Christian parenting look like? What does it mean to be a worker in the workplace and serve Jesus? And what kind of gifts and opportunities and experiences he given us, and what's the best way to steward that for the sake of his gospel and his kingdom. And Kaylee had been, she'd done a year of exchange in Europe after high school, and that experience had showed her, I guess, the richness of the kind of Christian discipleship that she'd experienced in Sydney, because Europe even then was highly secular. Ministry in schools was almost unheard of, and so she'd come back from Europe with really strong convictions about being involved in maybe ministry in Europe or in Bible translation or something like that. And our church, Carlingford, was certainly a church where people were encouraged to serve in the church and to think about how they would serve Jesus in the future. So we came to the view eventually that I would go to college, and then we would see what the Lord would do. And when I was at college, we kind of then also came to the view that I'd apply to be ordained in the Diocese of Sydney. And so, these things, it evolves over time. It wasn't a kind of grand plan on our part, but we trust it was on God's part. And so when we made the decision that I would apply to be ordained, and when we were at college, a man named Dudley Ford, who's with the Lord now, Dudley and Elizabeth Ford, their son, Martin, was in our year at college, and Dudley and Elizabeth had a great ministry at that time and had through the 80s, well into their retirement, but they spent a lot of time encouraging younger people to think about ministry and to think about living for Jesus. And Dudley invited a few of us from college to come and pray just once or twice a year at their house about evangelical ministry in Anglican churches outside of Sydney. And I said to Kaylee, Dudley and Elizabeth have invited us to come and pray about these churches and outside Sydney. And she said, well, I don't want to go outside Sydney. And I said, well, they're only asking us to come and pray. So we joined this prayer meeting.
Yeah.
And so in my fourth year at college, a few of these churches, just seemingly out of the blue, started to write to us and said, would you think about coming and being an assistant with us? So then we made another decision and said, okay, well, there's a lot of resources in Sydney and there's fewer resources in other places, so maybe we should be open to that. Yeah. And so when we finished college, we actually went to Canberra. And I served as an assistant minister in St Matthew's Wanniassa with Rick Lewis, was the rector at the time. And we stayed there for about 3.5 years, and then I was invited to come to Shenton Park, St Matthew's Shenton Park in Western Australia. And we did that in 1999, and I was the rector there until 2015.
Right. And is that in Perth?
That's in Western Australia, in Perth, yeah.
Yeah, right, okay. Wow. And can you tell me what you think that God really showed you during that time? I mean, 17 years is a long time.
Yeah.
Is there something you can remember distinctly about leading that church that you felt, damn that prayer meeting?
I mean, so many things. Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I think we had a wonderful time. I think I was pretty reluctant in a way. I thought, yes, this is the right thing to do, but I really had a lot of doubts about whether I was ready for it. I'd been out of college for 3.5 years. It was a long way away from our families.
Yeah.
We didn't know anybody in Western Australia. We didn't know anything about the Anglican Church in Western Australia. And what we really learnt was that you can trust God. We had a wonderful time over those nearly 17 years. It was a tremendous privilege. It is a tremendous privilege to be a pastor and to live among God's people and to serve among and with God's people. The Anglican Diocese of Perth is not a sort of evangelical diocese like Sydney. It's much more mixed, and yet we had great fellowship with other evangelical Anglicans and with other evangelicals who were not Anglican. And over a period of 17 years in a smaller city like Perth compared to Sydney, you can see God at work in wonderful ways. And across the city and across denominations and ministries, and we did, and we loved our church family. It was incredibly hard to leave them, and we remain, very fond and engaged, I guess, from afar in the life of that church community. Yeah.
And what precipitated the move back to Sydney? Was there a need for a change, or?
We didn't really think we'd ever come back to Sydney. Right. my mum used to say to us,
of course, your mum was there. Yeah.
When are you coming back? And we say, oh well. But in the end, I guess we were. So I was invited by Glenn Davies to come and be the Dean of the Cathedral in Sydney. I had been a student minister at the cathedral many years before, and I'd done that when I was a college student because, having worked in the city as a lawyer, I was interested in ministry in the city, and I think realised that there were lots of non-Christian people in the city who were not going to go to their suburban church, but who could potentially be reached in their workplace. And we were familiar with some of the city ministries of places like St Helens Bishopsgate and All Souls Langham Place in London, therefore had sort of some models for how a city church like the cathedral can minister to the city in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'd been a student minister there. And now, or back in 2015, when Glenn asked me to come over, we realised Sydney had become a very multicultural city, that there were all kinds of evangelistic opportunities, especially associated with the cathedral, in a variety of ways. It's surprisingly, the cathedral, when I was dean, I always used to say, the doors are wide open, literally and metaphorically, and all kinds of people walk into the cathedral. And so there are tremendous opportunities for sharing the gospel, and you're engaged with the civic life of the city, if you like, on particular occasions, big days like Anzac Day or Remembrance Day, or through the time when Her late Majesty passed away, suddenly people were turning up in the cathedral, hundreds of people.
Really?
And of course, by that time, when the Queen died, Sandy Grant was dean and continues to be so, and leads a great ministry team there that are similarly focused on reaching the city through some of the quite unique and marvellous opportunities. Anyway, I had a sort of sense about that, and so I did think that was a reason why we might come back to Sydney, and so we did.
That was quite a big shift, I'm guessing, from being in Perth and then to the hubbub of the city.
Yeah, it was.
Was that maybe a little bit? You're looking maybe like just for a challenge to do something different in terms of your ministry in a different environment.
Look, I think obviously we prayed about this, and we prayed together, Kaylee and I, and we prayed about it for some time, for several months actually. Yep. Glenn was very patient, and we did come to a conviction that that was what God wanted us to do, and that He could provide for St Matthew's. As I say, I mean, it was tremendously difficult to leave, and both of our daughters remained in Perth when we left.
Oh,
Right.
So it wasn't an easy thing, but we did have a conviction that that's what Jesus wanted.
And so, I mean, I don't mean to fast forward too much. I'm trying to kind of track your path to being the reason that we asked you to come on the podcast, to have the big gooner of the Anglican Church to come on. So then, how long were you at the cathedral for?
It was about 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, from 2016. I was elected Archbishop in May 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so does that put you on the path to getting elected as Archbishop? I'm more interested in how that actually works as well. But
yeah, I don't know how that works.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Yeah. Fair.
God just does his thing.
I have some curly questions. I apologise.
Can I quickly rewind just a little bit?
for
How
sure.
was COVID ministry at the cathedral?
Yeah.
What did that look like? That would,
Yeah.
it looked very different to lots of different churches.
Yeah,
but how was that?
COVID
at the
was such a
cathedral?
challenge for everybody,
Yeah.
and everyone is kind of desperately trying to work out how to do it.
Yeah.
At the cathedral, we were greatly blessed. Actually, the diocese supported us to record services, so we did 37 weeks of pre-recorded services. I would record a talk. We would get people in to read the Bible and say some prayers. We at the very beginning of COVID, we had a couple of sessions when we got an ensemble of the choir to record some cathedral type music.
Yeah.
And so we kind of ended up with I don't know, a dozen or maybe 20 anthems and hymns recorded by the choir, and we just kept pulling them out through the year. And so we had a terrific editor, Tim Robinson, and he would put together all these pieces, and then we'd broadcast it on YouTube. And in fact, the cathedral actually developed a kind of global kind of audience. And every week we'd get emails from Peru and Singapore and India and the United States, and people saying, "Oh, we're watching." And in fact, a few people would write to me, like more than once, and so we realised that we were having a ministry to people all over the world when the whole world was struggling with COVID. So it was a great privilege. But by the end of it, by 37 weeks, I was really tired of preaching to a camera, and people would come in to read the Bible and what have you, and I'd say, "Oh, it's so great to see you," and they'd say, "Oh, we see you every week."
It was a bit like that when we were doing it.
And of course, I mean, that was happening across the world, and certainly across the diocese, and people working just incredibly hard to make church happen in whatever way they could. I mean, I feel slightly triggered talking about it.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like lost time. It feels so foreign, even only being this far away from it.
No, absolutely.
This podcast came out of COVID, though.
Yeah, it did. We started doing this in COVID.
Well, there are a lot of things that came out of COVID that have kind of endured in positive ways.
Yeah.
But I think everybody just ran on adrenaline for so long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really.
Especially, I remember Braden used to do a big Friday. So we used to do in 2021, in that lockdown, we did it kind of as a church, as a podcast format. Still had all the elements that we would usually have. But then Braden would do youth afterwards.
So would Ethan. Yeah, it was a big day. It was a fun day, but
till about 11 o'clock at night.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
They were doing big days.
Yeah.
But we're doing like 4 podcasts a day, and then doing that, and you were doing that. But that's the story of lots of people doing a lot of hard work during COVID to serve other people.
And interestingly, I mean, one of the things that happened, of course, is that people were joining, online prayer meetings and things like that. And once we worked out how to do a Zoom room meeting,
Yeah.
you know, we used to have a sort of Zoom morning tea. So the pre-recorded, we'd record on Thursday, and then, you know, there'd be editing, that'd be broadcast on Sunday, and then after the broadcast, as it were, we'd have a live Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
And people would just get on, and we'd share about what was going on and pray for each other. And actually, people really enjoyed that because, especially in the cathedral environment, it's such a big environment. There's so many people every week who are kind of visiting, and it's big and bustly, and so it just created this smaller, more intimate opportunity for people to actually talk and pray.
Yeah.
So, you know, there were unexpected blessings in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I move on to your role as Archbishop?
Sure.
Can you give us a day in the life? What would you usually do during the week?
Yeah, well, it varies. I mean,
you come do this, you can smell chips.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. So today, chip podcast.
A little bit different.
It is very variable, but look, I mean, there's a lot of oversight and, you know, committee work, I suppose. I'm the chair of the standing committee and a few others. So there's that. I engage with our organisations and schools in different ways. Sundays is the day that I visit churches, which I love to do. This month I'll be speaking at 3 regional ministry conferences, I think. There's a couple of days of General Synod, the sort of national denominational body.
Yeah.
There are a couple of General Synod days this month. You know, correspondence. The things that I love to do, and that's why I'm here, is because I want to talk about Jesus, help people think about who he is, what he's done, how we should respond to him. So I do try to make time to make sure I've got time to talk about Jesus.
How was that shift? Like, so you had probably the most kind of traditional kind of pastoral ministry role in Perth, and then a little bit of a change going to the cathedral.
Yeah.
Still pastoral ministry, but looking a little bit different being in a cathedral.
Yeah.
How was that shift then to just a different type of role, I'm sure, but how did you find that shift of going from, well, this is my congregation, this is where God has put me, to, oh, now I'm responsible for something else kind of entirely. I don't have
many congregations.
Well, I don't have like a church that's this is where I've been set over. I'm set over the whole thing. How did that look different?
Well, it's a big difference, and I loved being a pastor, and I miss being a pastor of a congregation. I miss the tremendous privilege that belongs to pastors of preparing sermons each week and living with and in a community of people in which you speak that word and sharing together in responding to it. I mean, that is an absolute joy. Yeah. It's a tremendous privilege, and I miss that a lot. But I also believe that I serve the churches too, and that this is a privileged role. It's a very privileged role. I feel very humbled to be the Archbishop of Sydney. It's really it really is a wonderful privilege, and you know, it's maybe very prayerful. I frequently feel weak, and the challenges and the kind of, you know, it's that classic thing where only the things that can't get solved by anybody else
move their way up
end up on your desk, the desk of the guy at the end of the line. Yeah. And so I do feel that I've grown in my prayer life and in my dependence on God. I know many, many, many people pray for me and for Kaylee, and we're so grateful for that. obviously there are challenges. People know, I think probably, what the challenges are of being a Christian and of proclaiming the gospel in our cultural moment. But I think there are also great opportunities. And one of the privileges of my role is that because I move around the diocese and I'm not just in one place, I see what's happening in lots of places. And I can tell you what's happening is that God is building his church, that people are becoming Christian, that the kind of the mainstream paradigms of the secular world and its worldview are failing people all over the place. And that there is spiritual openness and spiritual hunger as well as spiritual hardness. We need to believe what the scriptures say about who Jesus is and what he's doing, and not always kind of believe what unbelievers say about this. Because Jesus is building his church and people are desperate for good news.
Off the back of what you just said there, I really appreciated your humility there, saying that you sometimes do feel weak. I think that's really important for a leader to say that, yeah, it is hard. But then part of that role that you have now is being in the public eye a lot more. And so I did a brief bit of research on you just to be prepared for today. But I saw you on Q&A on The Voice. I remember you being in the news with the same-sex marriage plebiscite. And what I appreciated about you is I think there is a non-anxious presence when people are coming at you for things that you're talking about in terms of being from a secular point of view. So my question, I suppose, around that was, because I don't see you compromising anything on the gospel when you are actually speaking publicly. You're saying, I'm not...
Thanks, Joel. I told you people pray for me.
Yeah, but I see you saying, I'm not changing what I'm saying on this.
Yeah.
So my question, I suppose, is how can you help us, or how do you actually approach those situations so other people who are trying to talk to non-Christians about Jesus, and it's been such a theme around this particular episode of that when you became a Christian, you just wanted everyone to know about it. But you also need to approach it with a humility and a calmness. So how do you approach those public situations where the Sydney Morning Herald or someone calls you up and wants a comment from you, for example?
That's a great question. I want to honour the Lord. I think Jesus is the Lord who loved us and gave himself for us. I want to be faithful to him. And so I ask people to pray I ask people to pray for wisdom and courage. And then I usually say, when I say courage, what I mean is that I wouldn't have the fear of humans, that I would have the fear of God. But, Jesus said, love your enemies as well as your neighbours. And we don't have anything to fear from the unbelieving world, because the worst they can do is put you to death. And death has been defeated.
And you're off to heaven.
And so I want to treasure Christ more than my own reputation or anything else. When I speak to the media, I want to tell them what the Bible says, why it says it, why it's trustworthy, and then they do the editing. But I just want to be faithful and consistent. It's not easy.
That's why I asked.
So I'm grateful for people's prayers, and there are people around me who kind of give me advice about how to approach those things.
I'm sure you pray beforehand too. Like that's another
Yeah, of
thing
course,
with you.
and usually during.
That's cool. And part of that research that I was saying was some of it made like to make an emphasis on you being the first non-European to take the role. And I suppose I have like there's two questions, and I know I don't want to impact on your time too much, but I'm wondering like does that bother you? But also, what do you think that your different background has allowed God to work differently in your life? I would love to hear what you think about that.
Look, I think it's the case that, God uses us as we are, right? So God is constantly at work in all of our lives. He's given us experiences, relationships. We've lived through stuff. So this is the wonderful thing about a God who is personal and who invites us into a personal relationship. He doesn't expect me to be somebody else, but he's able to take what I am, which he made, and use it for the purposes that he's already decided upon. Yeah. So we ought all, as Christian people, to have a confidence that God knows us. This is one of the wonderful things that Jesus says in John 10, I know my sheep and they know me. Yeah. We really know what God is like because we know Jesus and he makes him known to us. And he really knows what we are like. The things that we barely admit to ourselves, he knows. Yeah. And that means that he's able to help us. He's able to give us what we need. And he's able to use us as we are because he's made us what we are. And he's able to make us into something more for his sake. And so the really important thing is to be confident about who Jesus is, what he says about who we are, and about our relationship with him. And I think that means that, so I'm the first non-European background person to be Archbishop, which might be, well, that gives me a bit of a platform because people say, oh, well, he's not your regular white guy, so let's talk to him. Yeah. I think that's probably worn off, actually. I think there was a bit of that at the beginning, but I'm not sure that it counts very much anymore. But it also means that I'm a migrant in Australia, and so I've got that kind of experience, a pretty privileged one actually, but nevertheless, that's part of my experience too. That does mean that I can speak to migrant communities in Australia in a way which they respond to. I think people are people who've come to Australia more recently than me. They know that we have something in common, that my family also had to negotiate a new culture and not be, as it were, mainstream. In fact, a lot less mainstream now than if you come as a migrant now. Australia's a lot more multicultural in 2025 than it was in 1975. So God uses all of that. And I'm sure there are particular avenues and opportunities that arise out of it. I'm good with that.
And I think the Buddhism thing gives you a different perspective too.
Sure.
I think that would be,
for sure.
And I think it is an example of what you're saying is that God is going to use the people that he's made for his purpose. Yeah. Rather than us going, look, this guy was a bit different to us. Who cares? Yeah. But God's going to do it anyway. I'm really conscious of your time, so thank you so much. I'd love to ask you the final question, if that's all right with you and Braden. We've briefly looked at a lot of your life and how you came to be Archbishop, how God's worked through your life, and that you've wanted to tell people about Jesus. What would you want to tell your younger Christian self, around that, maybe when you became a Christian in 21? What would you tell him?
Yeah, it's a great question, but it's not an easy question to answer. I was thinking about it last night, and so I've come up with a couple of things. I think, look, because I became a Christian at 21 without any kind of Christian background. I didn't know anything, actually. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I didn't know what I could find out even. So I think now, I would say read more Christian biography.
Okay.
Because I think the witness of the lives of Christians in previous generations is something from which we can learn a great deal. I have, but kind of too late. Not too late, just not as early as it could have been.
What's your favourite one though? Who would you tell to read right now if no one had read one?
Oh wow. Well, there are kind of two categories as I was thinking about this. I mean, you could make somebody a kind of lifetime study, right?
Yeah.
And now, like you could say, well, the Apostle Paul, right?
Yeah.
But I've just been in Germany with the Billy Graham Congress on European Evangelism.
Nice.
And been through a number of countries influenced, especially Germany, of course, by Luther.
Yeah.
There is a statue to Calvin in Budapest.
Is there?
Because of the Hungarian Reformed church movement that goes back hundreds of years. And these people, I mean, the volume of work that they produced, for example, at a time when there wasn't penicillin or Panadol. I mean, life was hard. And yet so to just take some time to put yourself into the life and devotion of some of these Christian heroes, I guess we'd say now. They didn't feel heroic at the time. They didn't think they were heroes. The ancient Christians, Gregory and Basil and Augustine and people like this, tremendous scriptural insight and complex lives, not sort of spotless lives by any means. But I think there's just a tremendous amount to be learned from that, and something very encouraging when you read the biographies, and then you can come to more modern time. When I say modern, the last couple of centuries. The people we think of like Spurgeon and Lloyd Jones or John Stott or Billy Graham. There's just such a lot to be learned, and to encourage you in the way in which Scripture has been a bottomless resource for the life of devotion and service to which we're all called in every generation. So I wish I'd known more about that sooner. And the flip side, well, it's actually, when I think about it now, it's just another dimension of that. When I went to Shenton Park as rector, I was about 34 or something like that. And somebody said to me, can we start a parish prayer meeting? And I said, yeah, sure. And I said, I will come to it, but you organise it. And so we started a weekly prayer meeting at 6:30 in the morning on Thursdays. And at no time was that prayer meeting ever attended by more than about a dozen people. But it was always attended by the same 7 or 8 people who were 30 years older than me. And so I would say to my younger Christian self, get to know older Christians in your church. Because right there in front of you, not just in the historical and biographical books of Christians of the past, but right in front of you are people who have known and served and loved the Lord for decades, and they're right there. They're in the church, and God's put them in the church so that you can be a mutual encouragement to one another. And they were. That Now, those people, they were actually involved in various kinds of ministries and what have you, but they were at the prayer meeting, praying for me, praying for our ministries, praying for our church family, and I benefited so much from their ministry as well as their testimony, their example.
Yeah.
They've got their own biographies.
Yeah,
Indeed.
absolutely.
Yeah, the biographies of ordinary Christians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
But God blesses us with each other, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
Those moments,
Yeah.
especially.
Yeah.
Mm. That's why we love, we want to be an all-age, all-stage church because we can learn from the older saints as well,
Yeah.
and also the younger people.
Yeah.
And,
teaching.
you know, the whole premise of this podcast,
Yeah.
that you invite people to talk about the way God is at work in their lives,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not only in how God came to save them, but in what God is doing in their lives ever since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Well done.
oh, thank you. Well,
200
done.
going strong.
Yeah, 200 still going, hopefully.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We should wrap it up for you.
Okay.
But thank you very much for taking the time to come on here.
Thanks, Joel.
It's been really cool to hear how, you know, you could go, it's the Archbishop, but God just works through everyone's lives exactly the same, like to whose purposes, however he wants. We just have to rely on him. And I think just hearing about how you became a Christian when you were 21 and wanting people to know about Jesus, I'm encouraged to know that that's the attitude and perspective of the person basically leading our denomination.
Yeah.
So I'm really thankful that you even just again took the time to come and chat to us.
It's been a pleasure.
And it's
Thanks,
been,
Joel.
and the
Thanks,
humility
Braden.
that you've approached it with and grace, we really love it. So thank you so much. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
Oh, just thankful, as like jumping off your last point there, thankful for, 200 episodes of talking to people about how Jesus has changed their lives.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we've spoken to people from 16 to people in their 80s,
Yep.
to saints
Fantastic.
who have now passed away
Yeah,
since we've
well
talked
done.
to them as
Yeah,
well,
that's right,
which
yeah.
is really an amazing thing to get to think through the different ways that God works through so many different lives, but is, like you mentioned from John, drawing people to himself in so many different ways. So thank you for coming on. It was lovely to meet you.
My pleasure. Thank you for
and
having me.
It's really, I think, special to think through the amazing ministry that God has called you to and what you're doing, but also a ministry among many, many, many things that God is doing, not just in our community, but a little bit wider and a little bit
Amen.
wider than that. It's
Yeah.
amazing to get to talk to you about that this morning.
Thanks, Braden.
Unreal.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Joel.
very much. And thank you to everyone that's been listening or watching. We really appreciate it. Thank you for sticking with us for 200 episodes. Appreciate that one too. And to anyone who's listened or been on it, and if you haven't been on it, come on it. And we always finish Kanishka with a one way, because that's, we say there's only one way. It's to Jesus.
Yep.
So we'll finish with that. Thank you, Braden.
Thank you, Joel.
And once again, thank you to the Reverend Archbishop. And we'll finish it.